So I selected a number of images that were shot by myself, and I'm just going to be putting you through how I did the color grading for the images. So for those of you that are very fast learners, those of you that are very good at grasping things at once, I think you would find today's class very, you'll be able to get everything from the class today. But for those of you that, who probably are slow learners or something, I think the recorded video will be very useful to you, so you can take your time with that and continue to learn. But we have limited time today, and I understand that we have limited learning spans as well, because not everyone can. I know how you can't sit and learn with touching for so many hours and learn everything. So I'll be able to achieve the best I can achieve within 1 hour. You understand? So let's wait for a minute to see if we get more people on board. Just 1 minute. See if we get more people on board, then we can move on. Okay, shall we move on? I think we got just one person, so let's move on. But let's wait another 1 minute. Let's just see, because this is going to be very intense, and I don't want so many people missing out on it. But please, let's just wait. Hello guys, okay, let's move on. Anyone that wants to join can join later. Let's move on. Yeah, I wasn't seeing anything. That was why there was no volume. I kind of just waited for more people to join us. But I think it's fine. We can move on now. So, sorry, if you can hear me, please say you can hear me in the chat. Sorry.
Can hear you.
Teacher, I have to mute you. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't
So, can you see the screen too, please? Just indicate in the chat you can see the screen. So I can move on. I can hear you, but no screen. Why was that? Is that the case? Can everyone see the screen, please? Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Just indicate in the chat. I can hear you. Yeah, I know you can hear me. I'm asking, can you see my screen? Can you see the screen? Can you see Photoshop?
Yes, I can say.
Okay, good. So let's move on. Let's move on. So this was the image we were working on yesterday. I think we're done with dodge and burn parts of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I did to dodge and burn this particular image. I'm going to go by its again. And then we'll also go into coloring. So the first thing I did was Shift Alt Command E. What it's going to do is it's going to create a merged layer up there. That was surprisingly slow. I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, 50% gray. You leave the content on 50% gray, and your mode, leave it on normal. Opacity, leave it at 100%. Okay, so I'm sorry about the lags in between. I'm sorry about the waiting times in between. I'm very sorry about that. So the content 50% gray, mode normal, opacity 100%. If you studied what we did yesterday, I mean, when you got back, I believe you would understand what I'm doing now. So you change the blending mode of this to overlay. Then I would usually duplicate it. name one dodge. And name the other one burn. So I'm going to be dodging on the dodge layer and burning on the burn layer. Now, when I'm dodging, I'm, emphasizing or, adding more highlights to the highlighted part of the features or the structure of the face. And when I'm burning, I'm darkening the shadows on the face. And that way I'm able to make the image more three-dimensional or more contrasted. Or more contrasted. So I usually start with burning. So what you do is you come over here, you select the burn tool. You make sure your range is on mid-tones, range mid-tones, exposure 3%. Then what you do is you increase the size of the brush. Let me zoom in first. Face. Then increase the size of the brush to something that's large enough to cover the shadows but not get into the highlights. And remember, you move your brush just once over a surface. You don't move your brush twice. I mean, you don't take your brush off and then come back again and then click again. You don't unclick and click again. You just click and hold once and then swipe over there as many times as you want to swipe, but you don't, once you unclick and you go back and click again, you're doubling that effect. And you don't want to double the effect there. So I'm going to, burn over the shadows here. Underneath the cheekbones here. So my system is a bit slow. I think I've done a whole lot of work on it. So it's slowing down. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I don't know why this is happening. So you can go around the lips to give the lips some shape with the burn tool. And I'll reduce this to say 40%. That's the work done so far on the burn day. I'll reduce 40%. I always try to reduce the opacity whenever I'm done doing the dodge and burn thing. So it looks very natural. So I'm dodging right now. So you dodge on the highlight. To make the highlights more emphasized or brighter. So I'll typically reduce the opacity of that as well. So if I group this, you can see it before and after, before and after. And you see the face has more structure now. So that's the entire goal of dodge and burn. But okay, that's that for that. Let's move on. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line the eyes. I like to darken the lines around the eyes for the eyes to be pronounced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another 50% gray layer, Shift Alt or Option, then Command E. Then I'm going to come to Image, to Edit rather, View, 50% gray, Mode Normal, Opacity 100%. I'm creating a 50% gray layer just like the dodge and burn layers. So I'm going to change this from normal to overlay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my burn tool. I'll reduce the size to something that's small enough to line the eyes. Then I'm going to make the opacity, the exposure, I'm going to change it from 3% to 13%. So what's something that's very dark. So I'm just going to increase the size slightly. Remember to increase the size of your brush, brackets open, brackets close, increase or reduce the sizes. So I'm going to line the eyes. What I'm doing right now is I'm just essentially darkening the edges of the eye. You can bring it into the eyes and darken the pupil and just create a line around here. It just allows the eyes stand out. So if I do it before and after, see the eyes stand out even more. So for this particular look, I wouldn't be doing much on the lips. I wouldn't be touching the lips because usually I try to increase the colors. Let me show you guys can hear me. Okay, so usually I try to increase the colors on the eye, on the lips, or to blend, create it, to like paint over the lips again. Like adding more of the lipstick to make the lips more even. I usually do that, and I'll do that more in images of work on our service. But for this one, I think it's a nude lipstick, so I'd rather just leave it like this. Then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create more contrast in the image. Now, when at this particular stage, I'm going to be working a lot with the tools here. These adjustment tools here, I'm going to be working with them. Then I'm going to select this tool called Gradient Map. Then I'm going to click on this box here. Change it from, click on Basic. And I'm going to select this one here. Basically making it black and white. If you select this, it's inverted. But if you select this one, then it's going to look like a black and white image. Then I'll click on OK. I'm going to teach you how to work with so many tools today. Then I'm going to change the blending mode of that from, it's going to look black and white like this. Then what I'll do is change the blending mode from normal to soft light. Then the image looks extra contrasted. So what I'm going to do is reduce the opacity to something around 10%. So if I do it before and then after, it gives the image a very light kind of contrast that makes the image look well structured. So you can work with 20%. If you want more of that effect, I think we'll work with 20% for this one. Then the next thing we'll be doing is I'm going to teach you so many ways of applying that contrast. So in other images, I'm not be using gradient mark, I'm using black and white, or I'm using curves. But basically creating these effects of contrast in the image, that's what I'm trying to do. So the next thing I'm going to work in with is the color balance. This is called color balance. This stuff that looks like a measuring scale. It's called color balance. So what color balance helps you do is it helps you apply a particular color, a particular kind of coloring to the shadows. It helps you apply a particular kind of coloring to the midtones and then the highlights. Because in your image, in terms of the lighting in your image, you have the shadows, the darkest parts, you have the midtones, the parts in between, and then you have the highlights, the brightest parts. So you can apply a particular kind of coloring to your shadows, apply a different kind of coloring to your midtones, and apply a different kind of coloring to your highlights. It helps your image stand out. Usually, what I do most times is I select shadows. You can select either the shadows, the highlights, or the midtones here. So I start with the shadows. I'm going to apply a little bit of. Now you can move your. Now these are basically the 6 kind of primary colors you have. You have cyan, red. You have magenta, green. You have yellow, blue. Now, if you know much about colors, which I don't think many of us do, but the thing is, the opposite colors have like opposites, like words and opposites. Now, the opposite of white, that's the most common one. The opposite of white is black. But also for primary colors, they also have opposites. The opposite of cyan is light blue, like you can see it here. The opposite of cyan is red. So, and the opposite of magenta is green. The opposite of yellow is blue. So if you're adding more yellows to a particular part of the image, you're going to be deducting the blues there. If you're adding magenta to a particular part of the image, you're going to be reducing the greens there. If you're adding cyan to a particular part of the image, the reds will be reducing. Or if you're adding reds, the cyans will be reducing. If you're adding greens, the magentas will be reducing. If you're adding blues, the yellows will go down. So a good way of reducing yellows would be to add blues to a particular part of the image. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'll take shadows and I'm going to draw the slider towards the cyan side of things, which is this direction. Say -5. You can just select and type your number there, -5. Then I'm going to add a little bit of blues, say 2. Then to the midtones, I think the midtones are fine because I would have added reds and yellows to the midtones, but I see the midtones already has yellows and reds in it. So I'll just go to the highlights and put a little bit of cyan and the highlights. Then I'll go to the midtones and then add a little bit of magenta. That was a lot. Okay, this is fine. Now you need to, make sure you're just using your eyes to, do the coloring because there are no rules to it. There are no rules to it. So you can color your image in so many different ways, but there are no rules to it basically. What you just need to understand is the opposite of cyan is red, opposite of magenta is green, opposite of blue is yellow. So if you feel that the reds in your shadows are too much, that the reds in the dark part of the image are too much, you may want to add some cyans to it, just slight, and to correct that error. If you feel in the midtones, that's for example, this part of the skin will be the midtones. It's not this side. It's not entirely highlighted, but and then again, it's not in the spots and the shadows. You can add red. You can add a particular color to counter the color you feel is excessive there. But if you want to stylistically, add a particular kind of color to a particular part of the image, you can do that. For me, I think this coloring is fine. Cyan in the shadows and a little bit of magenta in the midtones. Let me click on it. Cyan in the shadows, a little bit of magenta in the midtones, and for the highlights, a little bit of cyan. I think I'll add a little bit of yellows in the midtones too. So I think it will make it a little bit more flattering. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to teach you this other method of applying contrast to your image. So you can select this tool called black and white. Black and white, you find the names here, black and white. So it makes the entire image black and white, like the name implies. So what I'm going to do is I'll going to slightly draw reds this way and draw yellows this way. Then I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to soft light. And then I'm going to reduce the opacity. Remember to always reduce the opacity. It's tempting to leave it as it is, but it's always wiser to reduce the opacity. So I'll reduce the opacity to say 10%. I'm going to come back to gradient map and then reduce the opacity to 10% as well. I'm going to put this in a group of its own. So it helps create that sense of contrast in your image. So for me, I think this is fine. I think this is fine. But I also like to just try one last thing, because I don't really do much on images in terms of coloring. I work with a few tools, but I think I'll try something. I'm going to try working with selective color. That's this tool here, selective color. You don't, the thing is, when you first of all learn this thing, it feels like you need to do exactly what whoever taught you did when coloring their images. You feel you need to do exactly what the person did to get results, but truth is you don't. Truth is you just need to learn how to use all these tools. Then after learning how to use these tools, you then use on your own, then decide or understand where you need to use these tools and where you don't need to. These tools are very relevant in color grading or coloring your image. But I was able to create my own style of coloring, how colors look in my image, and then understand the tools I need to use to achieve that particular type of coloring. I understand the tools and how to use those tools to achieve those type of coloring. So you can master how to use these tools I'm teaching you, and then create your own style of coloring with those tools, with these tools rather. So I'm going to pick reds. Now you have different colors in the image. You can select, when you select selective color, you can select any of the colors in the image. Reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magenta. So you can work on each of these colors individually. So the reds will represent the skin. Every part of the skin is going to fall under a type of red. Now this part of the skin is going to fall under yellows. The hair is obviously going to fall under brown, under blacks. This is going to fall under yellows. This is going to fall under reds. So I'm going to select reds to control the color of the skin. Now, this is a great way to manipulate the color of your skin. You select selective color. You pick red from the colors, pick red. Then you move this way. Move this way. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of red. Add a little bit of magenta. So please, there are no rules to this. There are no there's no definite way to color. But when you just keep using your eyes to look at it, you find what is pleasing to you. There's such a thing. I want you to understand that there's such a thing as doing too much when it comes to coloring. There's such a thing as an oversaturated image, an overcolored image. And there's such a thing as skin color that doesn't match the natural way it should look. So you need to be very cautious of that. Initially when I started color grading, I usually have issues with my colors. The issue I was having was the colors on my image would tend to look natural, even though we all still. Hello, can you hear me, please? If you can hear me, can you say in the chat so you can hear me so we can move on? I think we had a little bit of a glitch there. No audio, volume, please. Okay, so Samuel says she can hear me but no screen. So I'll share the screen with you now. I think Zoom had an issue there. I think it's probably restarted or something. So can you see the screen now, please? Can you indicate so you can see the screen if you can? Can you see the screen now? Okay, good. So let's move on. So basically, you're just going to be using your eyes to figure out what works or what looks pleasing to you. So I think this particular coloring is what did I just say? This coloring is fine for me. This was what it looked like. Looked like everyone was kind of yellowish before, but now we're able to distribute the colors better. Put a little bit of cyan in the shadows, put some magentas in the midtones, and then put some yellows in the highlights. So that way we're able to distribute the colors better. So it doesn't look flat. It looks a little bit more color contrasted here. So let's move on to the next image. So this is an image you've probably seen on my page. I have this image on my page. So I've already done the frequency separation side of things. I've already corrected the skin. So for this, I'm going to teach you how I was able to achieve the colors and dodge and burn colors on the skin. So I'm going to carry out dodge and burn first. So I'm going to hold Shift Alt Command E. This will create a merged layer up here. Then I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, Content 50% gray, Mode Normal, Opacity 100%. Now click on OK. Change this from normal to overlay. Duplicate it. Name this Dodge. And this burn. So I'll start with burning on the skin. So I'll select the burn tool, increase the size. Now remember we changed this to 13%, so I'm going to change it back to 3%. So I'm going to start burning. there's a whole lot of work being done on the system. That's why it's hanging slightly.
Don't pretend. Your foot is football. I guess that's it.
Hello, can we see the screen now? And in the chat, I see Buki said it's frozen. I can't see the screen, please. So if you can see the screen, please let me know you can. Let me know if you can. Can you see the screen, please? Let me know if you can see the screen. Is anything moving on the screen? I'm trying to move the image. Is it moving? Okay, hold on. Is it better now? Let me know if it's moving. Let me know if the screen is moving now. Please let me know. Is it moving? Can you see the screen moving? Okay, so we can move on. So that created a bit of structure on the face. Then we'll carry out dodging now. For the dodging, I'm going to be brightening the highlight on the face. Then I'll reduce the opacity to 40% for both dodge and pan. Then the next thing I'll do is I'm going to be lining the eyes. And that was an error. That comes up when you double click on any of the layers there. So I'm going to be lining the eyes. So I'm going to create another 50% gray layer by holding Shift Alt Command. Shift Alt Command E. Then I'm going to go to edit, fill, 50% gray, normal, 100% good. Then you click OK. Changes from normal to overlay. Then I'm going to select my bronze tool, make this 13%. Reduce the size of the brush. I'm going to reduce that slightly. So it looks a little more natural. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select ingredients map here. Click on this. Go to basics. Select this one here, black and white. Now it looks like a kind of flattering black and white, but this is not exactly what you want to achieve. You want to change this from this to soft light. For this, I'll leave it at 30% because I like the effect. I like the effects it's given the image. So it gives it this kind of contrasted appearance. Then I'll increase the vibrance of the image. Vibrance just pops the colors of it too, but in a very natural way. So that's different between vibrance and saturation. Saturation looks, saturation pours in way more color than vibrance. Vibrance just pops the colors a little and makes it look more natural. So that's why I always prefer using the vibrance slider. So I'll add the vibrance to the image. Say +20. And I'm going to select selective color. Now, this is very subjective. It's you looking at your image and deciding what your image needs at a particular time and then giving the image what image needs. So it's not, there are no routines to it. It's just, giving your image what you feel your image needs at a particular time. So in this particular case, I feel I can do a little bit of correction to the red and the skin. See which color tone is better. A little bit of red will be fine. That's adding red to the skin. Remember, if you're reducing cyans, reds will be added to the image. If you're reducing magentas, greens will be added to the image. If you're reducing yellows, blues will be added to the image. So just like if you're reducing blacks, whites will be added to the image. So it's like colors have opposites. So I'm reducing cyan. Then I'm also going to see what works. Sometimes I like to move it this way, back and forth. So I think adding a little bit of magenta will be fine. Then move this way, move this way. Just slight yellow will be okay. Then I'll go to yellows. Let me see. Yellows, that's the highlighted part of the face. Reducing cyan does not work. Adding cyan. I think adding cyan works on me. So I'll just add slightly. Then just a little bit of magenta. And just slight yellows. And I'll go to blacks. Remember the colors here represent the different colors in the image. So I'll go to blacks, meaning the color of the hair. I think there's a little bit of red in the hair here. I would like it to look more like natural black. So by that, if I want to reduce the reds in the hair, I'll just add a little bit of cyan. So that makes the black look, more like an accurate kind of black. So I think that should be that for this image, and I don't want to do much on it. So if we group these layers and do it before, so this is what it looked like before we started working on it, and this is what it looks like after we're done working on it. So you see, we've been able to give the image more colors and in a more flattering way, and you've been able to give it more contrast. So we have 4 more images to go, but before we move on, let me get questions from you, please. So the chats are open for questions for the next 3 minutes. Let me get questions from everyone. Thank you. Please make sure you drop your questions, whatever question you have, whatever part kind of confused you, or you can just state the stage that you want me to go over again, because I have 4 more images to edit. Just state the stage in the editing process you want me to go over again, or state what you don't understand, or just let me know whatever question you have, whatever confusion, just let me know. You have 3 minutes to do that. So I'll let you just Hello, so I got a few questions here, and okay, let me see. Let me just sieve through it and see which ones are relevant. So, how can we edit with a group picture, please? Use the exact same method. It's the very same method you use. You apply contrast to it and then you color correct it. It's still the very same method you use for a group picture. It's nothing different. It's nothing different. It's just the same method. Just that you need to be very mild when doing it. You need to be more mild when doing it for a group, when carrying out this process for a group picture. So how can I change the image background to another color? I think we're not able to cover that. How can I change the image background to another color? Thank you. I don't think we'll be able to cover that today. But if you want to learn about that, there are 1,000 ways to do it. I mean, off the top of my head, I know about I know up to 5 different ways to do it, but it's not something I want to be teaching today. But if you want, I can personally send you a link to study how to change the background of an image. It's all over YouTube. But for this particular lesson, I just want to teach how to work with the skin and create perfect skins. So even skin tones, how to achieve this? I think the process of creating an even skin tone starts from the shooting process. You need to make sure your light is evenly lit. But if you're in a situation where you don't have an even skin tone, this image has an even skin tone. So let me look for where, if any of the images we have don't have even skin tone, so I can quickly correct that. So this has an uneven skin tone. So what you do when working with when trying to correct uneven skin tones is you need to be able to use your eyes to identify what colors are in which particular part of the skin do I want to match? Do I want to match the colors to look like? For example, I would like the rest of the body to look like the face. So what I need to figure out is, since every part of the skin, like I said, you work with this tool called, let's start with this. You work with this tool called the selective color, which we've been working with for a while. And then while working with selective color, you need to realize that every part of the skin, let me take this out of here, it shouldn't be there. Oh my gosh. Hold on, let me fix what I just did. Good. So you need to realize that every part of the skin under selective color will fall under red. So if you want to correct the colors of the skin, you pick selective color, double click on this and make sure you select red, because everything you're doing in this slider will be affecting the entirety of the skin. But if you remember masking, the topic I taught you on the first day and I asked you to study, masking will help you carry out a particular effect and then limit it to a particular part of the body. So I want this part of the skin to match the face. What I'm going to say, what colors are in this part of the skin that are not here? First of all, you notice that there are more yellows here. So I'm going to add yellows to this. I'm going to add, that was not yellow, sorry, that was an error. I'm going to add yellows here up to this point. Now it's currently affecting every part of the skin, but I'm going to limit it to this place. I think I should do that first, but let's see. Then I'm going to add a little bit of reds by reducing cyan. Then what I'm going to do is select the mask, invert it to black, pick a brush, increase the size of that brush now, and then paint a white colored brush over the skin. Now, if I double click on this, the sliders come up. So I'm just going to add a little bit of yellows to it, a little bit of reds to this, Now, good, we have the colors matched now. So if I do it before and after, before and after, before and after, you can see the colors of the face now match the skin. What's essential for you to understand if you want to learn matching the skin tones is you need to understand masking, because masking is going to help you carry out a particular effect and then limit it to a particular part of the body or a particular part of your image. So understand masking, black and white, how it works. Like I told you to study that, and then again, I explained it very well in the video before. So you're going to work with a mask here. This is called a mask. Black is for invisible, white is for visible. Anywhere you paint white onto, the effect is visible there. Anywhere that is black in the mask, the effect is invisible there. So now I needed to make this face match. I needed to make this face, the colors on the face match the body. Now I understand that every single part of the skin is going to be recognized as red under selective color. So I'm going to select red, figure out the colors in this place that are missing here. So the colors in this place that I found it's figured to be missing here were red. So there's more reds in the face than on the body. So I drew the slider out. I reduced cyan. Remember I said the opposite of cyan is red. You can read up on that and to understand it better. Opposite of cyan, opposite of magenta, opposite of yellows. So the opposite of cyan is red. So if I'm reducing cyans, I'm adding red. So I reduce the cyan. Then I also noticed that there are more yellows in the face than on the body. So I came here and then I increased the yellows to the point where I felt it matched. So I added reds, added reds, added yellows, then painted it over this part of the body. So if you look now, you notice that this part of the body matches the face. So I'm going to teach you how I color this particular image. It was a very kind of subjective kind of coloring, but it was very subjective. It was just me coloring to my taste. I didn't carry out dodge and burn on it, so I wouldn't be carrying out dodge and burn. I'll just go straight to the coloring process. Like I always do, get the gradient map, colored black. Now, if you want your image to be black and white, you can leave it this way. It's well contrasted and black and white. I think I like this image. I'm going to save it and post it. I'm going to save it and post it. I'm going to post this one. I like what it looks like in black and white. It looks very flashing. So what you're going to do after changing it to black and white is change it from normal to soft light. You see, it gives the image a sort of contrast. Then you reduce your opacity to say 30%. That's fine. Then what you do next is you selectively color it. I'm going to work with color balance on this one. So I'm going to pick color balance, where I can put a particular color in the shadows, another color in the midtones, another color in the highlights. So I'm going to select shadows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send everybody a link to a YouTube video that explains this in a very simple way. That was probably the video I studied that helped me modify my coloring process a little bit. So I'm going to send everyone a link to that video so you can watch that video and then understand contrast and coloring a little bit better. So we'll start from the shadows. I'm going to add some cyan to the shadows. So you see right away, it looks, you can see the changes right away. Then I'm going to add a little bit of blues. Oh, I don't like that. I wouldn't add blues, just change to 0. Then I'm going to go to midtones. Then in my midtones, I'm going to add some reds. And I'm going to add some yellows. I'm also going to add some magentas, but just very light one, very light magenta. Then on my highlights, I'm going to add a little bit of yellows. So let me put this in a group. You create a group by clicking Command G, G for group, Command G. So you select all the items you want in the group and then click Command G. You select by holding Command or Control in the Windows. Then this is before, this is after. You see, it makes the image look a lot richer. So this process helps the image look a lot richer, creates kind of contrast in the image that makes the image look richer. Then I'm going to add a little bit of vibrance to my image. Then I'll go to selective color now. I'll select reds. Now reds are going to affect the skin and also this the veil or the drape she's putting on. Then I'm going to add a little bit of magenta to it. Then for this one, I'm going to use this tool called Levels. Now levels, what levels does, it basically helps you deepen the shadows or darken the shadows and brighten the highlights. Darken the shadows and brighten the highlights, and it's in a controlled way. You can actually control how much of that happens. So I'm going to use, if you draw the slider here, the highlights get brighter. If you draw in the slider, the shadows get darker. But you need to be very mild with this, mild with everything you do, very mild. It's a skill to learn how to do something, and it's also a skill to learn how to be moderate with it as far as Photoshop goes. Because there's always and will always be such a thing as overdoing things. So I'm going to add just 2. I'm going to change the number here to 2. And I'll change the number here to so I'll just draw it till I get to 240. So this is before, this is after, this is before, and this is after. So we'll move on from this image. And let's go into this one. I think this one is going to be a little bit more complex, but then again, it's an outdoor image. I shot this image with it was just completely natural light. I didn't make use of any artificial light in here, so just purely natural light. So I'm done with the frequency separation part of things. I'll do a little bit of dodge and burn. So Command Shift or E. I'm going to go to Edit, View, 50% gray, normal, 100%, remember. Change this from normal to soft light. Duplicate with Command J. Double click on this, change this to dodge. And then you change this to brown. So you select the brown tool. Make sure this is 3%. That's very mild. I think the highlights are already too bright. The bright part of this is already too bright. I don't need to apply, just reduce the opacity slightly. So I don't need to apply dodge to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is gradient map. I always use gradient map for contrast. That's the first thing I do. Changes from normal to soft lights. Then reduce the opacity to say 27%. Then I'm going to selectively increase I'm going to go to selective color. Then reds are going to affect the dress, the skin, maybe a bit of this. So I'm going to add a little bit more of reds to red so the dress can pop. So that's fine. I'll add just slight magenta to it. Then a little bit of yellows to the dress as well. I'll be adding a little bit of vibrance to the image so the colors pop. And then I'll be selectively increasing the saturation of greens. So I'm going to go to hue saturation, change this from master to greens. So in hue saturation, when controlling saturation of the image, you can either click master to control the saturation of all the colors on the image at the same time. That's you can either pop all the colors at the same time or reduce all the colors at the same time, or you can select a particular color in the image you want to pop. For example, greens. If you're a makeup artist, this will come in handy for you. So greens, pop greens, to make the greens in the background pop. Then so I'm fine with what this looks like. I'm fine with what it looks like. Like I said, I don't do much, but what I do is very impactful. I don't do much. Like I can see the huge difference, but I don't do much. I just quickly do this 1, 2, 3, 4 layers and I'm done with it. So before and after, you see it always looks more flattering before and after. Now, I would like to teach us something I promised to teach yesterday. And that's how I work on the lips and the eyeshadows. I work on the lips by, just basically adding, reapplying the lipstick. So I'm going to show you how I reapply the lipstick. And just pay attention to it. Anyway, you're going to have access to the recording. So you're going to have access to the recorded class. So I think you can always go back and study it. But just watch while I do it. I'll be doing it just once for the sake of time. I'm doing it just once. So this is what I do with the lips. I'll create a new layer. I'll repeat that process. Come to layer, new, layer, layer, new, layer. Then just click on OK. Then a new layer will be created. Then I'll change the blending mode of that layer from normal to soft light. This is the layer I'm going to be carrying out. This is more like a transparent layer that you can work on. It's the layer I'm going to be carrying out the lips blending on. So just watch closely. So I'm going to select this tool called the pen tool. What the pen tool does is the pen tool helps you make selections. It helps you make selections around a particular thing. To be very accurate with your selections, that's what it does. Some of us already know these tools. Those that don't, you can study more on the pen tool on YouTube. But this is, what I'm teaching you now is how I apply it in this particular situation. So I'm going to make a selection. You select by making little dots, continuous little dots around your So I'm done making a selection. So I'm going to come to this box here called selection. I'm going to make the radius 3 pixels and then click OK. You're going to have access to this video, to the video from this class forever. So don't be bothered if you're not getting it at once. So I'm going to select, what I'm going to do is select a brush. I should have said that if I did that. So I'm going to select a brush tool. That's a regular brush for painting. Then select a color on the lip that I feel everywhere, every part of that lip should match. So I like the deep red here. So I'm just going to select that. You will select by holding Alt. When you select your brush tool, you select a color by holding Alt. Once you hold Alt, it brings up this eyedropper. It's called an eyedropper tool. It helps you select a color. So I'm just going to select a color here. And then I'll reduce the opacity of that brush to around 40%. Then I'll paint over the lip. The reason for the selection, before I did this, was the selection will help you limit your painting to a particular area. So if I had just painted without creating this selection around the lips, then the painting is going to affect everywhere. And that's not what I want. So after selecting, you can come here, select. After when you're done painting, rather, you can come here to select and click on deselect. So this is before, and this is after. This is before, and this is after. Before, after, before, after. So I'm going to do the same thing for the eyeshadows. I'm going to come to layer, new layer. Okay. Also change the blending mode to soft light. You get your brush. You don't need to select this time around. You select the colors on the eyes individually. For example, I'll select the color here and then paint over display. Select the color, then I'll do the same thing for the other eye before I move on. Then select the color here. Select this color. Then reduce the opacity. Then this is before, and this is after. It looks very light. So this is before edit and after edit, before coloring and after coloring, before coloring and after coloring. So this is the point where you understand the relevance of color grading to your image. It beautifies your image. This is before and this is after. So I'll go into questions and see if I have any questions. If I don't have, we can move on or call it a day. But I'll use this picture to answer your questions. So let me see. Do we have any questions? I'll give us just 2 minutes. I'll give us just 2 minutes to answer the questions, please. Okay, Samira, go on. And let me get your questions within the next 2 minutes, and I'll come back for it. Okay, so I only got questions from one person. I hope you understood what was taught today. I really hope you did understand it, because if I'm not getting questions, then it means you probably did understand it. Or so many people understand it, so it's probably too complicated for people, and they're like, oh, I'll probably just go and watch the video later, and I'll just get it. So the video should explain this to you. Whereas if you still have questions after the class, you can always inbox me and then I'll respond to it. But let me see. If you want to make a glitter or pigment pop, it's the same method. It's the same process. For the eyes, it's the same process. So so how do you give the skin a glossy glow? You can either do that. What I would advise you to do is, if you want to give the skin a glossy glow, you do it on set. That if you're a makeup artist, try to give the skin a kind of makeup that makes it pop, and then shoot with hard lights. There's a difference between, I want you to study the difference between soft light and hard light. In the lighting class, in the class on lighting on Monday, I'm going to make sure I mention the difference between the hard lights and the soft lights. I'll cover that. Then if you want to give the skin a glossy glow, shoot with hard light. Hard light is going to make the highlights very visible or very apparent, and the shadows will be deeper. So that will help you give your skin a glossy glow with hard light. Then and then do that particular kind of makeup. But if you want to do it in post, I would say you should carry out more intensive dodge and browning, or you want to dodge more on the parts you want to look glossy. That's once you emphasize the highlights there, that would help you give your skin a glossy look. Then that's the only question I got for today. So which means I'm free to go. So let me see, is there another thing I want to add? I think everything basically is in this particular class, in the recording, in the video. So what I want you to do is, first of all, I want to say thank you for attending the classes. I tried to make the class brief because I understand, because, well, aside from being a photographer, I'm an educationist. I'm a trained educationist. I have a degree in education. So I understand one thing. And what I understand is learning span. So I understand that everybody has different learning spans. And as far as retouching goes, I know if I go more than this, you're probably not, it's just going to be me repeating the same thing because I've covered the entire lesson in this video. If I go over it again, it's just going to be me repeating the same thing, and you're not going to be getting it. What you have is the video to go and watch later. And if you have questions, if you have more questions, you can send me a DM. I respond more to my DMs than to my emails. So send me a DM and a direct message on Instagram. Let me see, go on, create. Let me see what you've created. Send them to me and I'm going to make corrections to it. It's okay to make errors. It's okay to not to be perfect. It's okay not to have the best possible results at first. But the thing is, I know when you go back and study, or when you come to me and I give you corrections, I know you're going to get better. My works were, I probably do have all your Instagram. Samira said, how would you know if my Instagram account is Instagram? You sent me you booked for the class on Instagram, didn't you? Or at least I have your email address. I have your email address. If you feel whatever method you use to contact me to book for the class, you can reach me through that same method. For those that contacted me through WhatsApp, you can reach me through WhatsApp. For those that contacted me through Instagram, you can reach me through Instagram. Those that contacted me through my emails, you can reach my emails. The same. It's the same email. Just contact me through the same email. Samira, just contact me through the same email. It's fine. I'll respond to your questions. I'll review your work and I'll give you corrections. So that's fine. Please try to take time to study the videos. And if there are any concepts I mentioned that you don't understand, please don't depend on only one source of knowledge. That's one thing I never did when I was learning all these things. I never depended on only one source of knowledge. When you notice you don't understand something, try to YouTube. I mentioned YouTube because I learned editing by myself. I wasn't taught. I know it's not a thing of strength, but nobody really taught me this. I mean, I should have learned from more people. I mean, I feel it should have helped my work develop better if I had learned from more people. But everything I know, I learned working by myself or from YouTube. So it's going to be very useful for you to if there's any concept I mentioned that you don't understand, please go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and try to, go on YouTube and try to study them for yourself. It's going to go a very long way for you. It's going to go a very long way. Go on YouTube, study for yourself, and then reach out to me for explanations, and I'm more than willing to explain this to you. So thanks for coming to class, and I'll see you guys on Monday. I'm still trying to think of how Monday's class will be, and I don't have it all figured out yet, but I should have it figured out by Monday. So thanks for coming to class. See you on Monday. Please study everything I ask you to study, and then you get great. Please, it's important I mention this. Your works are not going to get marvelous overnight. It's not going to get marvelous overnight. It's not going to get superb or extraordinary overnight. It took me a year. It has taken many of my students way less than a year. And I expect it to take you way less than it took me because I was doing the learning on my own. But for everything I've taught you, it took me a very long time to learn them. So I'm compressing everything and giving them to you at once. I expect that you should learn them within a short period of time, but it's not going to be overnight. It will probably take you a month, probably take you 2 months, but constant practice is how you will learn. So don't get frustrated if you edit the first image and it doesn't look perfect. You need to be able to develop a kind of passion that helps you, become consistent at it. So, so that's that for that. Thanks for coming to class and have a good one.